So we all set to go?
I think we are.
Yeah. So moving on, we'll start with the introductions, please. Oh, want to start? Alex, you want to start over there on your end?
Alex St. Pierre.
Eric Bell, CVES.
Michelle Friedman, CVES.
Christine Myers, CVES.
Matt Slattery, CVES.
Okay, the crew's all here. All right. Opinions and concerns from the audience? Anybody have anything they want to bring up, or if not, we'll move on. Strategic plan mid-year update, Dr. Davey.
Okay, so with the board's permission, I'm going to be presenting an overview of our strategic plan updates. Let me come to the front and then I'll go from there. So, first and foremost, I would like to commend our team, our directors, Mrs. Campbell, who's online, as well as Director Slattery, Director Friedman, Assistant Superintendent Bell, Assistant Superintendent Campbell, as well as our divisional teams and our DPT, and our two board members, Mrs. Saunders and Mr. Harriman, who've been dedicated and important parts of this as well. We did talk last year that the board requested at our mid-year update, so we did have a little bit of some memory recall to say that the board said preferred that we not go into as much depth with the updates. The board did receive and has a copy of our strategic plan mid-year update PowerPoint. Each divisional director and assistant superintendent, as well as myself, provided an update in details. It's there. We're happy to answer questions, but we're actually just going to focus on really the overview at the 30,000 foot level, and then talk about how we followed our template, especially for the COVID implications, and what we've done to help support CVES and follow our strategic plan model. So we'll spend a few minutes with that, and then we'll wrap up and open the floor up for questions if the board has that. Okay, so we'll move forward. And first of all, this is our mid-year update. On the 31st of January, we had a district planning team meeting where we extensively, reviewed our progress. We emphasized how much our year has been impacted by COVID, but also identified that we still had an ambitious plan. There are several updates that are outlined in our strategic plan. One is our rebranding and reimaging, as well as the DEI, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Initiative. So both of those are important initiatives that we are still moving forward with, and we want the board to be aware of that. Again, in each division across CVS, the strategic plan is moving forward. Perhaps not as ambitiously as we had hoped, but also we all understand the impact that COVID has had. So with that said, just a thank you and an encouragement for our CVS family of professionals, for all of our staff, for our board, our district planning team, for all their dedication and hard work that has allowed us to continue with our ongoing work. Again, the strategic planning process for our two new board members especially, this is an ongoing process that we've had. This is our 8th year of our strategic plan. We do an end-of-year survey that we utilize the data. The board will receive those results. We then utilize that data, and it's based upon climate, goal setting. It's really an entire overview of our strategic plan and process. We then use that data to help update our plan in the fall. So we do have a process. We've worked with an outstanding strategic planner. So we're excited to move forward. Again, it's been a challenging year. We've continued to maintain our in-person instruction, and this could not have been possible without everyone's hard work, as well as all the close attention to the COVID details. We're getting through this. Kudos to our entire team, our board, our staff, our nurses, our O&M team, our administrators, the secretaries who did all sorts of contact tracing, our administrators who worked diligently weekends, evenings. This has been really all hands on deck. Our superintendents and supporting all of our students who've also been impacted through this. And lastly, we look forward to sharing the mid-year update. Again, just a reinforcement that our mission, our vision, and our core beliefs are guiding our work. continue to do so. And part of the conversation that we had with our district planning team is our mission, vision, our core beliefs are great, and we're so proud of them. But the true character of an organization, individuals, shows through and how we live these, especially in challenging times. When the winds come and the storms arrive, that's when you know that the real core issues and your core beliefs can help guide you. And so that's really an encouragement and a thank you to the board for your continued work with that. Lastly, you can see the overall view of our PowerPoint presentation. We're going to focus primarily on the impacts and then just provide a couple of overview highlights. So with that said, you can see where we are from the start of the school year. We're working with Sean Brady. He's our outstanding and skilled professional facilitator, has done a tremendous job. Sean's actually retiring, selling their family home and moving to Colorado to be closer to his children. Most of his children are all Colorado and West. And he has 4 children, so God bless him, and he's really excited about that. He does have several $1,000s left in his contract with us. He has agreed to work with us on some rebranding facilitation to help us bring that to closure and to really help us make progress. So we just spoke with him. I just spoke with him last week. He's willing to do that. It's going to be virtual, but we know that help will help us move through it fairly effectively, as well as he has a high level of trust for us. And likewise. So we are moving forward with that. As we look at our priorities and our strategies, these were agreed upon for Ms. Moffett, Ms. Hunter. These were agreed upon, especially the category, how does CVS postings lead? How do we deliver? How do we support? And how do we collaborate? And with that said, you can see all the different categories provide dynamic leadership, educate through innovative, high-quality programs and services, ensure a quality learning environment, and build and enhance partnerships. So those were the major buckets that our priorities fell into. You can also see all the other areas, several of them are bolded. Those were the highest priority items. We believe they're all important, but those were the highest priority items that our district planning team worked and agreed to as the highest priority. Yes, they're all important, but these are the ones that are the highest priority, and that's why they were bold. Okay, so as we move forward and we look at that, you can see attract, support, and develop and retain high-quality employees. Again, retention, recruitment, but also ensuring that we provide that support. Ensure our programs and services excel, but also foster creativity, innovation, and collaboration. Support the expansive social, emotional, and mental health of our educational community. The research out there about the impact of COVID, at-home instruction, and now COVID as a long-term impact is very significant. Students, staff, families, everyone has really reached a fatigue point, but also suffered, and we know we need to provide those supports. And lastly, embracing and building a culture of equity, inclusion, and acceptance. So those were the high priority items, but again, partnerships, updating our facilities, our equipment, our et cetera, collaborating, providing professional learning opportunities and collaboration, and so on and so forth. These are the priorities that we agreed to work on, and we're continuing to do so. We will share, and you understand, and initially when I first suggested that on our PowerPoint, my initial thought was have a big COVID in red across our priorities and strategies. I will share with you, our cabinet said, well, that's kind of, because it really was like wow, it would have made everybody sit up straight. I will share with you that that's been the kind of impact that COVID has had, but now we're 2 years into it, right? It was 2 years next month when we went remote. But it has continued to really influence and affect us deeply. With that said, we want to share with you through our categories, lead, deliver, support, and collaborate. How have we provided dynamic leadership? I will share with you that CVES, our component districts, have worked more closely together, and CVS has continued to be a regional leader in more ways than it ever has been before. With the collaboration of our health departments, our collaboration of our school districts, providing interpretation of guidance, working with the state education departments, working with our local health departments. We have been collaborating at a level that's unprecedented. And for the benefit of everyone, we've worked together to do so. Again, we've shared and you've seen the emails come out. Many times the new guidance from the state comes out on Friday afternoon or Friday evening at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Last year with Governor Cuomo, we would actually wait and watch his press conferences to find out the next news that was coming. The health departments didn't know it. We didn't know it. We would be informed by the governor of what was happening. So it's been a challenging time. But with that said, we've continued to collaborate at the local level and with our partners to interpret, to implement, and to be as successful as we can be. Next, educate through innovative, high-quality programs. What have we done? The regional data, we're going to talk about that. You know, the COVID report cards have been important. You know that we're managing and working with our Clinton County Health Department and leading a COVID testing on a weekly basis. We're also now distributing tests. With our tests that arrive, I believe we're approximately at, Ms. Campbell, about 50,000 tests that will have traveled through our doors with the latest shipment. Just arrived yesterday. With that said, we also have the continuation of in-person learning, despite the fact that our COVID rates and infection rates have been higher. We've had the tool in our toolkit now with vaccinations. Mask wearing has become somewhat controversial, but on the other hand, it still allowed us to remain in person as we've really worked hard to maintain our programs, but also have layered mitigation. Lastly, the support for our students, our staff, and their families has been critical. When we get to the collaboration beyond the support, you know, how have we continued to do this? The ELC, that's the grant, the allocation from the federal government through the counties that we're working with. In Essex County, we work as a partnership. Essex County's taken the lead in that implementation. In Clinton County, we've been the lead agency helping implement the COVID testing and working with the health departments for our COVID testing. In our schools for employees, as well as offering symptomatic testing in our schools, and now a drive-up clinic. Very much been appreciated. I will share with you those numbers are dropping off. Lastly, you can say for the weekly check-in meetings, we'll talk a little bit about that and the ongoing work with our districts and our community agencies. As you look at some of the details and how we assisted, you've been made aware of the updates that have gone out to the staff. The interpretation of the guidance, Mrs. Campbell was the point person with our chart, working with the health departments to help this really make it work, but also make it understandable. Many of our districts utilize this as well, and the health departments all verified to make sure that we were following the proper protocols and that we worked with them to, again, collaborate. There's Mr. Lozier, who's our CVS testing coordinator, who has helped coordinate our COVID testing initiative for Clinton County with our schools in each individual school district, as well as our drive-up clinic. And with that said, you know, with Mr. Lozier and our team, you know, we have the drive-up clinic right outside. That is an N95 mask. Mr. Sisson, as our health safety risk specialist, had to train our team. We have hired almost 20 individuals to be COVID testers for us in our schools. Again, we're rising to the level that's needed. And our districts have recognized that this leadership is really paying off. Same thing with our Essex County Health Department as well. One of the points I just want to share too is this is a quick comparison. So if you look at this slide, this was February 9th, 2021. How many positive cases did we have? February 9th, 2022, 1 year later. We've now had 3,003 COVID positive results. That's from our COVID report card. Last year, 289. Now, when you make that comparison, this year, we're still in person. We've maintained our in-person instruction. Our schools have had to shut down classes and go remote. Our schools had continued to contact trace. This number jumps off the pages for me to say this is how important this has been for us to be able to maintain it. And it's a testament to our leaders, to our administrators, the team you see here, as well as all our administrators, our nurses, our O&M, and the teams that have worked hard in our component districts to make this happen. I'll just pause there for a quick minute. Any questions at all with this overview?
that number is gonna start going down now.
So this number, so the number of positive cases, so this number won't go down until June 30th, and then we start back at 0. But this is a comparison. So this is a comparison of the number of positive cases from September, the start of school, until now. So last year, September to February, same day. Last year, today's day, this was the data shared from the 8th with the day before. So it's an exact duplication, but 1 year later. So when you look at just to give you an idea about how have we assisted, this is a typical, you've seen a lot of those shots in the transmittals. This is a typical check-in meeting. We had the meetings yesterday with the Essex County and Clinton County Health Departments. What do? So you say, oh, you have check-in meetings. Okay. Y'all get together and just talk about stuff. No, we actually have minutes that we produce, CVS produces every week. The meetings were held yesterday, the minutes went out today. Mrs. Joliker and I have processed those. Those are actually in our shared folder. So again, done out and discuss what had the highlights. Not only with that, what are we doing in the meetings? We're interpreting guidance. We're talking about how the guidance is implemented. What does it mean for our schools? What's it mean for our families? We've set up COVID testing. We've helped set up vaccination clinics. We've helped set up all sorts of steps. Vaccinations, the testing clinics, quarantine and isolation. We spent months talking about how do we quarantine and how do we isolate and how can we work together? How do we apply the guidance so it works? And lastly, you see TTS, that's test to stay. The most recent guidance came out last Friday, 6:19 p.m. Again, hit the airwaves. Very similar to the guidance that we have currently. There weren't a lot of changes. But again, things are starting to change. And even today, the governor came out with a press conference and said that there's a plan, really an off-ramp about wearing masks and metrics and how that can happen. The news today was that businesses, there's going to be a reduction or a reducing of mask wearing in the public sector. Schools at this time are going to remain in place for masks. But again, remember those numbers? And this is wearing masks. Can you imagine if we hadn't been wearing masks? Would we have been able to operate? No, we would not. So the one place where students and teachers are maintaining those protocols is in schools. There's not a lot of spread in schools of COVID. It's happening much more so in family events, in the community, in sporting events, sleepovers, birthday parties, you name it. That's where a lot of the spread is happening. In schools, it has not been occurring. So we're very fortunate, but again, you can see our team. This is a regular weekly meeting. Our next one's next Tuesday for Essex County at noon. And Clinton County, we had to move up an hour because there's meeting commitments to 2 o'clock next Tuesday. Lastly, just as we look at our progress, just a little bit of a smattering and say, this is all the stuff that's happening. At the same time, we're going through all of our shared decision-making. We're working with our teams. We're working with our divisions. We're implementing our strategic plan. Again, with all of this layered on top. So with that said, the rest of the slides, and I can just mention, this was the slide for the capital project and an overview about the benefits program and the benefits coordination. We moved from there to an update, and I'll just hit a couple of the highlights. Really our substantial completion for our capital project. We then moved into CVTech. Again, Mrs. Friedman and your team did a great job summarizing that. We're happy to answer questions. Right, you can read it, you have it in advance. You also have a copy with you. We're happy to answer any questions. But again, great work that's happening, it's detailed and really exciting work. And again, back to the different initiatives, how are we supporting it? How is it aligned to our work? Moving forward from CVTech, we move into special education and the work that they're undertaking. From the key data charts, the attracting and supporting and retaining high quality employees, we know that issue is very important. as well as how do we achieve equitable access for all of our programs and services. Also, fostering creativity and innovation within our programs, and also supporting the social, emotional, and mental health of our students. Moving forward, our Instructional Services Center, I know Mrs. Campbell, first year is doing a great job implementing all of our programs and services. We're expanding, our team is working very hard. We're looking forward to really utilizing these facilities, but again, also identifying partnerships and working to move those forward. And you see just a few pictures of some of the life and activities that are happening at CVS. Again, any questions that the board may have, we're happy to answer. We do have several improvement plans. This is an overview about our improvement plan for rebranding and reimaging. I will draw your attention very briefly to the fact, as we look at what we need to do and how we want to do it, we do have pay attention to the left-hand side of the screen, the talking points that we as a team and confirmed, we understand that Champlain Valley Educational Services is a brand that's very well known. We are CEWW BOCES officially, and so when I submit something to the state, I am the district superintendent of Clinton, Essex, Warren, Washington, BOCES. However, Champlain Valley Educational Services is the organization that's well known and also part of our brand. CEWW BOCES provides educational programs and services to the Champlain Valley at a high level. We have for 72 years. So part of our alignment is we believe that the Champlain Valley Educational Services does not need to be reimaged. We do want to work, the name recognition is there, but we do want to align it with CEWW BOCES. And also we have just gone through a $30 million capital project. We painted our rooms, we painted our buildings. We have the color scheme in here of green and tan, and so we want to keep that. CVTech uses blue as part of your recognition. Special ed has additional colors, so we understand those are the lanes that we're agreeing we want to stay in. However, we do want to update our website. We want to update our name, our name, for example, in the special education division, and look at that. Should we identify some additional factors to help us be more well-known and also to really get our brand identity out there? So we do have still an aggressive timeline. Brady has agreed to work with us. And again, we will be moving forward. We know that we need signs for our campuses. These are all part of the plan, and we will have that between now and the end of the school year for the plan. We also understand that we've agreed to have a diversity, equity, and inclusion effort. Mrs. Campbell is helping lead with that. We just advertised for a diversity officer, so we'll be coming forward with that for next month. And again, not only supporting the hiring of a DEI officer, but also laying out some groundwork and framework for us to move forward to support inclusivity and acceptance. And lastly, there's a copy of the timeline with the types of things that we're going to move forward with. You can see we'll have our annual survey from March to April. We'll review the results. We'll again have wrap-up meetings. We'll present the survey results at our May meeting. And in May, we'll actually be bringing our year to a conclusion and then present to the board in June. And lastly, just sharing with the board two different quotes. First, the most challenging times brings us the most empowering lessons. And let perseverance be your engine and hope your fuel. So with that being said, just a sincere thank you. Thank you for the cabinet to encourage me to just share and come through it. But I would like to give the board electronically, virtually, and in person a chance to offer any of our team ask questions or is there anything you'd like in a little bit more depth? And I'll ask our team members to respond and share.
I just want to thank everybody for all their hard work. I don't really have any questions. If anybody else has one, shoot, but we're sitting back and watching this unfold. It's, I think I mentioned to you the other day when you first started this, you were concerned that this would become one of those programs that's good for a couple of years and then it dries up, goes away like other initiatives across the state. But it's gone on to become something very good for us, and I think other BOCES are looking at us like, oh, this is a good idea. So thank you all for what you've done, and we'll continue on. Thank you.
Any other questions at all? Comments? Thank you, Mr. St. Pierre, and thank you for the board's support, both virtually as well as in person. Thank you, and your ongoing. We look forward to giving you more updates. And to our new board members, we're happy to spend more time going into some of the details and reviewing any of this as well. Okay.
The Audit Committee highlights are up.
Okay, so Mr. Bell, I'm going to just ask you to help with that for a minute.
Be happy to as I'm transitioning. We do not have anything to present on this one, but we will for the next update. So I was going to transition for us too. We discussed our external audit, keeping Weston Company as part of a third year of our RFP. No increase to the rate. They've been doing a fantastic job. Our internal audit exemption no longer exists. State Education Department now says BOCES are no longer allowed to be exempt from internal audits. We discussed that and an upcoming potential RFP for those services. You'll see in the budget presentation, newfound $12,000 that is going into the admin budget under the board budget code for an internal audit, thanks to the new SED interpretation of the same language that has existed since it came out. So we also discussed the reserve plan and prioritizing our employee benefit accrued liability reserve, as well as our TRS reserve. If funding is surplus funds are available at the end of this year, which we would come to the board in the May-June timeframe for that funding, but the importance of those two reserves. And then we gave an OSC audit update. The Comptroller's Office has been with us now for some time, and working through their planning process. They're coming to the end of their planning, and then they're going to start to dive into a focus. So we do believe that their focus is going to look into more of the employee benefits side of the house right now. More information to come on that, but they are diving into a focus area. So far, it's been all good. We appreciate them being on site. They've been supportive of helping us improve all aspects, because they've looked at payroll, purchasing, they've looked at technology, they've looked at every inch of our organization. They've looked at from personnel files all the way through something that we purchased for a couple dollars. So really, it's been a lot of pressure on our management services team, and I want to give thanks to Christine for working day to day with our auditor, as well as really the rest of our CVES team and divisions who are involved, because it even extends to phone calls to our directors, diving as deep as possible in our organization as possible to figure out what's the right direction to go once planning is completed. So we'll know that direction soon, but at this point in time, it's looking like it's headed towards an employee benefits direction. That was our discussion.
Do you have any questions or not? Move on to the capital project update. Eric, you might as well stand up there.
Be happy to. Alex is helping, so we can do both at a time.
So I do want to just thank Mr. Bell and our construction team. You know, our substantial completion for our capital project has moved forward. The target date was December. There's a few punch list items that are occurring, and obviously you're going to hear about something that's become more of an issue recently with our plumbing. We also are going to give the board an update in the public session about our plans to move forward with a phase 2. So really excited, and so I want to thank Mr. Bell and our team, O&M team, as well as our construction managers, our architects, and all of our contractors for helping bring our plan to a successful conclusion, but also so we can now move forward and wrap up some details and some things that are very important for us as well.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Davey. It's been overall positive, right? We're very pleased at where we're at this point in construction and really closing out phase 1, like you said. We're going to be happier, really, at the point we've gotten to. We're going to talk about some negatives here today, but I don't want that to be the focus of your takeaway. Really, the outstanding items, we're waiting on some deliverables, right? And the COVID-19 pandemic is real, and it's hit suppliers, and we are waiting on certain electrical supplies that we've been waiting for 8 months. So, there's items that are outstanding, and we're still working through those, but our contractors have been great in the closeout process. Tetra Tech, as well as Schoolhouse Construction, have been great moving us through to the end of this project and working with Dr. Davey and the rest of our team. So overall positive capital project. As you've come in today, you've realized that our bathrooms are out of order again here, and I do say again because it is again, this is our third time since we moved in. We moved in September of 2021. So first, we'd like to flash back to October board meeting, and this actual slide, or at least description, was provided to the board at that time. So to right size us, and you won't be able to see my pointer online, but in the middle of the screen, I'm putting a pointer on it and just showing where we are actually located. So where I'm standing is where the pointer is in the middle of this conference room. The red line running across the middle, so the middle red line that shows an arrow to the left leading to a yellow circle, is the brand new plumbing for the men and women's bathroom here at the facility, as well as an individual bathroom. And then it picks up 2 more individual bathrooms shorter down the line. And at that yellow circle, you see on the bottom right-hand corner of your picture, we had a brand new installed Y that had a large lip in it that was causing backflow and cloggage in our pipe. So as we flowed from our new plumbing, the beginning of our new plumbing to that point, we had an issue and we got a clog. We scoped it. We found this issue. We actually scoped all of our pipe so we could identify and locate where all our plumbing is. And that's where those red line came in because they were never part of a drawing. So the issue was fixed. Had the contractor come in. At that time, we noticed some bellies in the line in other areas. For example, in the conference room floor where Mr. St. Pierre is sitting, there's a belly in the line. We're aware of that. It wasn't impacting our flow or plumbing. Our team did not have any concerns for that belly, and it was not impacting any flow of our toilets. We noticed some outside as well. So as you went towards the pumps, and it's off the screen a little bit, we did find a large belly outside of our building, and we had that replaced. So outside of our capital project, PM Leary came in and replaced that line. So we fixed the plumbing that we could, or that we perceived needed to be fixed at that time. After scoping every inch of our plumbing, we had a camera in it. We visualized it. We saw it. Our plumber saw it. Our engineer saw it. Our construction management team saw it. Our O&M team saw it. Dr. Davey and myself saw those videos as well. So I want to start, where were we, right? So now we're fast forwarding to today. New drawing, really young because we actually know where the piping is. Large scale overview, but I'm going to zoom in on the next slide. The right side view, I'm standing again at the top of the screen in the LGI room 107. The middle is your lobby. Across the hall is where you have your 2 larger bathrooms. The plumbing flows from east to west on the screen. Under POC, which is just outside of workroom 144 for those of you online. That's where the new plumbing was replaced. The water flows to the north to a location of recurring clogging, it's called, just between the secure storage and the catering room, 103, and then the water flows to the west. And at that location of recurring clogging, we pick up the CVTech bathrooms that we call them. On your screen, it says student restrooms 110. It picks up those, all that water flows from east to west right underneath our conference center. That's the straight pipe that heads outside of our building. And that connection point, I'm going to zoom in on it and where we're going to highlight it. Red triangle at the bottom, just to right size everybody. That is the former or fixed clog that you saw with the lip, brand new Y there. The square is now where we're having clogging issues. So we now made it past one point because we have better plumbing and the flow can get all the way to it, and we're clogging in this location. At this point, the bottom of your screen is south. So I'm going to reference it as south and north. Top of your screen is north. Right of your screen is east, and left of your screen is west. So water flows from south to north, and at that connection point, the pipe actually drops in. So it's actually elevated. It's not a massive drop. And for those of you online, I don't know if you can see me, but it drops in about this. It's a very slight slope. So when you see it, it does drop into the pipe, and it 45s, it flows to the west. When you look at the brand new plumbing coming from our catering kitchen, you can see new piping flowing from the north of your screen, as far north as possible. You can see a black circle. That's a clean out, and it picks up your sinks and then drops in just to the west of that connection. That is a true drop in. So that is almost 90 down. It's a steep downflow, and it's just slightly to the west. And I'll show you a picture of what that looks like in a second. This is where we're having an issue. What's happening is the water from the CVTech toilets running east to west is hitting this point. It's believed to be a belly or a flat spot, and the water is looking for a place to go. So some water keeps going to the west, other water heads to the south, backwards up that Y, and starts flowing down towards where that red triangle. So it goes backwards down the Y, really up the Y, because remember it's slightly sloped into it. So it goes backwards and up and flows to the south. And that is believed to be part of our problem with our plumbing. So the belief, how we know this is that we flushed the CVTech toilets multiple times and it actually flowed back into that pipe. I will tell you that it was partially by luck we found this, because when we scoped the pipe originally, there was not seen to be any imperfections. You can't tell. If the pipe's flat, you can't really tell. What ended up happening is we were in the line coming from the south to the north, right before that Y, and someone flushed the CVTech toilets and we saw it flow back at the camera. Never good when you're in a plumbing line and the water's flowing backwards at you. Further investigation found it was reoccurring in that area. So we're investigating it. I'm going to show you on the next slide. This is a picture and it's really blown up and we've reoriented you. So bottom of your screen now is north. Top of your screen is south. So we've really just flipped that script all the way. So you can see the top of your screen is the water coming from our brand new Y that we put in, flowing from the south to the north. So top of your screen is south, flowing down to the north. And that's that connection point. There's a slight drop in that line into the pipe. And you can see that's on the bottom of your screen, that brand new pipe you see, that's where they tied in. And that is dropping down into the pipe and water is flowing out to the right of your screen. So that's where the investigation point, we believe there is an issue here. What that means is we're looking at most likely having to dig up the floor. This is right outside of this conference room, between the conference room and the catering kitchen, where this issue lies. Yeah, we'll get a question here.
Is that, you said that's a drop from a 90, from an elbow. Is that dropping into a T?
That is not. So it actually runs down the side of that pipe. So as it comes down, the water flows right down the side of the pipe.
Okay, so it's a TY then.
There you go. That might be the correct terminology.
Okay. It should be if it was a straight drop, that's part of the
TY,
problem.
sounds right.
So you talk about water flowing back uphill, so to speak. Is this a situation where some of the solids now are gonna settle out because it can't
I can see it better on this one.
less that to follow the flow?
Yeah, so from your left of your screen is where the CVTech toilets come in. It's flowing into that Y right here. And this is a slight upwards and backwards, obviously. So for you, those of you online heading to the top of your screen, up that pipe, and we actually see flow back all the way to the clean out over here, the brand new clean out. So you're talking about 12, 13 feet, that water is flowing backwards. And yes, solids are coming up that line as well. We do see standing water in this pipe. After that, it takes a very, very long time for it to even go down in that space. So the belief is if you flush the CVTech toilets and then you were flushing any of our brand new toilets, you now have a clog point that is happening instantly as that happens.
Actually, when I look at it on that screen, I can see it. But as you look over there, you're getting a different angle on it. And it's even worse when you look down there. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. So we want to just share with the board tonight that we are working through this. So we're working with our architects, engineers, working with schoolhouse construction. We're working with LH LaPlante. Roto-Rooters helped us scope the lines. Our own internal team is working on this matter, but we need to let the board know this was existing pipe where the issue is there was a tie-in at that existing pipe. So we are investigating all avenues of this. The recommendation at this time is for us to fix this area, dig it up, fix it. The belief is that our plumbing will work after this area is appropriately sloped or pitched. And I'm gonna go back 2 slides. Some of you probably saw it, so I'm just gonna say it before the question comes up. So I'm reorienting everybody by workroom 144, admin 145, superintendent's office 146. That's where that old connection point or brand new connection point is. POC, and sorry, boys. That new connection was, you can see here, proposed new buried sanitary routing. Long term, again, we want to be prepared. There's potential that that may not fix our issue. We dig it up, we get that flowing. The only way to know is to test it. Start using our facilities, see if it's going to work. Engineers tell us it's going to work. Contractors tell us it's going to work. We don't know until it happens. So we've asked architects and engineers to talk about what if we did I'm calling it a home run, but it's really an end run, where we went straight out instead of turning to the north. So in that POC spot, instead of heading north, keep going west, straight through the admin 145 office. On the other side of that wall, the admin 145 office is grass. It's between our two buildings. You hit 245s in that line and you're into our pit. You're talking about that run right there is probably 75 feet, roughly, maybe 100 feet. We lose 14 Ys or turns in the line, 45-degree turns in the line we lose. We lose about 300 feet of plumbing that brand new plumbing's traveling through, but it's very costly. So we want to really take steps to say, what we have now, can it work if we dig up and fixed it? We know when we changed the Y out here previously, the cost was $15,000. We don't know what the cost would be to fix that other area yet until we get a quote, but we're not talking anywhere near what it would cost to tear up that much concrete and put in all that new piping, doing an end run to our pumps. So we're looking at this, long term we're thinking, biggest thing, we gotta get our plumbing working here. And we're working through that, and we'll keep the board updated as we do. And last, I just wanna end with, we're starting our phase 2 planning. So I'm just gonna turn that off so we can get the attention back off plumbing and let's start talking about phase 2. We're continuing through that process. We're hopeful to bring to the board next board meeting proposals for Tetra Tech as well as Schoolhouse Construction to continue servicing us through this capital project in our phase 2. As part of our budget, we talk about a little bit of our mini capital projects, pairing those up. If we can pair 3 years, we believe we can get just over a $6 million capital project. Again, those are early numbers. We're still closing out phase 1. We have some things that are still out there in the open that we got to work through, plumbing being one of them, that can have cost involved. So we're giving you early estimates. That's a significant amount of money, especially if we can pair those three years together. We know we have a list of about $20 million of work that has to get done. Again, we want to be smart about this, and we're working through that planning right now with the goal to submit the SED in the summer. Our primary focus, one of our highest priorities, is generators in each of our buildings. We've had issues at our main campus, we've had issues in Mineville, we've had issues at our north building where we lose power and it really disrupts our educational environment, and it's happened frequently on our campuses. So for the safety and security and also the education of our students, that's one of our priorities as part of this. And then the rest was really stuff that was talked about by our Facilities Advisory Committee. Questions? And Alex is still here because we can pop that back up if there's plumbing questions. Happy to discuss anything you have.
I'm just going to add to those that don't realize. My personal feeling is, from my experience, these low flush toilets, although they're required, are no good, especially in old plumbing. But pipe sizes need to be changed, codes need to be changed. I don't know what it's going to take to do it, but I think these low flush toilets are creating much more problem than they're solving in many cases.
Mr. Chairman, I'm really happy you brought that up, and we had discussed that, and I forgot to bring my notes up here to remind me. So we do have a couple other issues, one being volume, water volume issue. We have a water pressure issue. We get 50 pounds of pressure into our building from the town. That's all they give us. When you flush a toilet, it goes down to 40. We know at the outlets we're getting 30. These toilets call for a minimum of 20. So we're really pushing the limits, and that's without any expansion of our second floor. So we know we have a pressure issue. We know we have a volume issue. Mr. Hammond touched on it. That we have witnessed in our videos. So we have to address that as well. And then we believe there's a slight venting issue too. Now, if you fix venting, you fix pressure, you fix volume, there is still an issue at that Y. So it's really a combination of all those that we're gonna have to address now, and then we're gonna have to try it out. And then we may be back here talking about a different long-term solution.
Right.
So Richard, just talking about low flow toilets and stuff. Do you suppose that if this was a new construction project, everything was brand new, then they would work? Because
Probably,
all the pipes would be the right size to match whatever they.
right, but then,
This is all, you're retrofitting here.
the code is calling for the size pipes you've got. And the problem is that with the low flush toilets, they actually have to be a smaller diameter, not, you
That's
know.
what I mean, if you're putting up a whole new building, you would then
You would go,
already
you would have to
be-
go by the code, you'd still have the same kind of problem
you still
because
will. I see.
the code hasn't addressed the
No, they
problem
haven't
of the
matched it up.
environmental issue of wanting to use the least amount of water possible.
So the puzzle doesn't
In a
work.
smaller pipe, the water would float at a higher level and it would float the solids away. You take a 4-inch pipe and you put 1.5 gallons or 1.75 gallons of water in it. By the time it travels any distance at all, the water's gone, the solids aren't.
Still there. You know, I've told several of them, many years ago, I was working down in Colony. And, the town boys were there, and we were having lunch, and somehow we got on the drains and so on, and they said they had a 3-foot diameter storm drain that ran 300 feet. And they were very scared that it was gonna be a major problem because they only had 3 inches of pitch from one end to the other. That's not what they consider standard pitch at all. They said they found out cleanest one in the system. Because when the water went, it took everything with it. Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, all the plumbing work that I've done, I have never put drainage in at what they required, quote unquote, for pitch. As long as it went downhill a little bit, water flowed.
Usually common pitch is 1/4 inch per foot, so, you know,
Yeah, that's a pretty steep pitch,
It is.
especially with these low flush toilets.
So, and I know Mr. Bell touched upon the pressure issue and other things. So we're taking the least, I'd say, instead of least restrictive, the least costly improvements first. And even as the water comes in from the town, there's a 6-inch line. It goes to, I believe, a 3, then a 2-inch, then back to a 3. So there is some like little details. We asked specifically, was that an issue? We were assured it was not. It was not. The pressure was fine. Well, we found that we've got some pressure issues, so we're gonna resolve these steps, you know, and take the least expensive ones first, but take the common sense ones especially. You know, and then move forward to the more extensive ones. But to see, will these resolve the issue enough so that we no longer have a problem? We're looking for a long-term solution, not just a short-term problem.
Now, there's a possibility as you put bathrooms up there, that you're not gonna have as much pressure up there just because of height. So you could end up looking at possibly a pumping system in here. Where you take the water from the town, put it into a tank,
pressurize it.
and then pressurize it to a higher pressure. You know, you've got the room up there if necessary. But you're looking at water, it's a 1/2 pound per foot of rise. So if you go up 10 feet, you lose 5 pounds. So,
And that is the recommendation at this time, is a booster pump. I'm calling it a booster pump.
yeah, there are other types of,
It's something that we have to increase our pressure to our building, and that is a next step that's
When
gonna
you
be
increase the size of your line, you lose pressure again, you know, it's not,
yeah, you're getting volume, but you're not getting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, go the least expensive route and we'll work our way
Right.
up.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bell, and thank you to the board for your attention and consideration.
I believe the budget presentation is next.
Yeah, so Mr. Bell, I think you still have the clicker, right?
It's a recording,
Okay,
thank goodness.
so I do want to thank, as we're starting, and Mr. St. Pierre is starting that for us. You know, our administrative team, I know our rock star, I believe, is still here as well, our treasurer, Mrs. Myers. She tries to be humble, but does a phenomenal job helping lead us with the budget process and the details, and coordinating with the accountants and who work closely with their divisional directors and the assistant superintendents. This is a all hands on deck approach, and you know that especially with the budget committee, as you're given updates throughout the year, a lot of attention to our budget. Our component districts also expect us to be very cost effective and provide high quality programs, but also, you know, in a, again, high quality manner, but getting the most, you know, the most service and quality for the money. With that said, we're very pleased to present our budget presentation. Mr. Bell and I both recorded our budget video. You have the complete presentation in front of you to our board. It was also, it linked in our transmittal as well as a copy is in the shared folder. So Mr. Bell, anything else you'd want to add other than my kudos to everybody and your leadership, but Mrs. Meyer's leadership, outstanding work, and everyone else who supported it, including our directors and assistant superintendents, phenomenal work.
We moved pretty quickly through these slides. We have the presentation ready to go back to any slide any board member wants to go back to, and where you can talk in detail about anything you'd like. The intent was not to glaze over this items, but there's a lot to cover and we didn't want to take up too much time. So we do move pretty quickly through these slides. Happy to discuss any one of them at the end of the presentation.
Greetings. I'm Dr. Mark Davey, Champlain Valley Educational Services, BOCES District Superintendent. I am pleased to be presenting with Mr. Eric Bell, CVES's Assistant Superintendent of Management Services, our 2022-23 proposed budget. This budget presentation is being recorded for our CVES BOCES board so that our board members, staff, school community, as well as our 16 component school districts and superintendents, along with their boards of education whom we serve, will have a better understanding of CVES's 22-23 proposed budget. We have a long-standing tradition for the past 72 years of working closely with our component school districts in career and technical education, CTE, special education, educational services and programs, instructional and leadership support, cooperative service agreements, and shared services. We are an essential economic engine supporting and enhancing our educational and business community. During the past 2 years, we have collectively faced the ongoing health pandemic impacting the North Country, our state, nation, and the world. We have worked closely with our component school districts, our local health departments, our local government, and our law enforcement and first responders. We are blessed to live in the beautiful North Country and collaborate with many of our school partners and our community partners to move through the pandemic. We look forward to not only moving through it, but beyond it into the future. I will now share my screen to move ahead with the presentation. Our agenda has several significant parts. First and foremost, I would like to thank the CVES BOCES Budget Committee members. Board member Mrs. Lisa Boyce, board member Mrs. Patricia Giro, board member Mrs. Lori Saunders, and CVES's administrative team members. We have worked through the budget calendar from July at the start of the school year to February, and this evening we are presenting our 22-23 budget. We will also be reviewing the budget with our chief school officers and school business officials on Friday, February 11, 2022. Next, I will highlight the budget development factors significantly affecting our 22-23 school year. The first factor affecting the budget is the ongoing impact of the school tax cap, which in New York State has a 2% tax cap or utilizes the Consumer Price Index, known as the CPI, the rate of inflation, specifically in New York State, whichever is lower. This year, 2022, the CPI is greater than 2%. It means that 2% will be the state's minimum for our school budget development floor. The second factor is health insurance and premium increases, which is estimated for this budget at 3.5% for individual and family plans. Our CEWW Health Insurance Consortium is made up of 15 component districts, totaling approximately $97 million for the coming year. The consortium comprises approximately 4,600 policies, which includes approximately 10,000 lives. Third, our salary increases not only include the base salaries, but also to continue to support employee contributions toward health insurance and retirement. The fourth budget development factor is the fringe benefit rates for the TRS, Teachers Retirement System, and ERS, the Employee Retirement System. There's a slight increase planned to move from 9.8% to 10.29% for the TRS rate. This change will cost CVS approximately $15,000 in additional costs. Our ERS rate will move from 4.6% to have a blended rate of 13%. Overall, this will generate approximately $150,000 in savings. The fifth budget development factor is the overall RWADA. RWADA stands for Resident Weighted Average Daily Attendance, which has decreased slightly for our budget, down 252 students to a total of 13,699 students. Finally, I would like to highlight that Governor Hochul's executive budget includes an overall increase of $2.1 billion for education. The total state budget is $216.3 billion. Overall, New York's total budget is below a 2% increase. However, this year's governor's budget includes a foundation aid for education, an increase of approximately $1.6 billion, which is overall a 1.8% increase. We are appreciative of our legislators and the governor's commitment to fully fund foundation aid and meeting the second of a 3-year plan to phase in full foundation funding. Additionally, some schools in New York State are considered fully funded at this time, which encompasses approximately 42% of the state's schools. Almost half of CVES's component districts are receiving a minimum increase of 3% in school funding, which is known as Save Harmless funding. The governor's executive budget for education also includes total funding of expense-based aids and provisions for mental health, and prevention priorities. Lastly, the governor has proposed a timeline to require zero-emission school buses. Given the rural nature of CVES and our component districts, we hope that there will be adjustments to allow for time to implement this ecologically and environmentally friendly recommendation. At this time, I would like to hand over the presentation to Mr. Eric Bell, our Assistant Superintendent of Management Services.
Thank you, Dr. Davey. I now have the privilege of going over our draft proposed budgets with you. First, I must start with thanking our team for their work on these budgets. Under Dr. Davey's leadership, and I give great credit to Christine Myers for her work, as well as working with our Assistant Superintendent Campbell, Director Friedman, Director Slattery, and our full management services team on these budgets. I now have the privilege to go through these proposals with you. And if you have questions, I do ask that you hold them till the end. We'll go through this rather quickly. It's a lot of information, but we're happy to discuss any slide further with you when we finish this presentation. The first budget we're going to start with is the proposed administrative and capital budgets. This is the overall view of both budgets, and we will dive into great detail in the upcoming slides. First, I want to point out that our retiree costs, that first line that you see, makes up 80% of our admin budget. The overall change in the admin budget is 5.32%. Now looking at more detail and breaking it down by COSER number in our admin budget, you do see the increase of our board budget line, the 1010 COSER, increased by $12,481. That is higher than we normally would see, and the reason for it is our BOCES is being required to have an internal audit. So we have budgeted $12,000 for that internal audit in 2022, 2023. This is a new interpretation from SED that we are actively working with to see if we can change that because this is a significant added cost to our admin budget. Also in our general administration line, 1250, you see the $297,000 increase there. $291,000 of that is due to retiree benefit increases. That is where all of our retiree benefits falls, is into that budget. Moving on, looking at a deeper dive, since this is the largest part, or 80% of part of our admin budget, we're looking at our retiree health insurance budget development estimates and really a breakdown of what those costs are, looking by plans, Medicare reimbursements, and HRA contributions. So you can see our policy totals are changing from 360 to 374 from current year budget to the proposed budget next year. We are allocating budget for 9 new retirees in this current budget. The CVES board and the CVES labor unions have actively worked together to pursue mitigating the rising costs through negotiations and controlling by putting contributions for health insurance premiums in retirement for all new 12-month support retirees and for all CVES United Professionals, our NYSE group, and 12-month support retiring after 7/1/2023. This has been a collaborative effort from the CVS employee groups as well as the CVS board. Also, Medicare reimbursements make up over $500,000 of this budget. Those have also been negotiated out at future dates in each contract. Moving on to our draft capital budget, you can see here there is zero change overall, $474,000 to $474,000. That means there is no overall net impact on the tax cap, BOCES capital exclusion of our districts per this budget. However, realize that a shift in our WADA and shift in aid ratios for each district could have an impact on that BOCES capital exclusion. Realize that we are working our transfer of capital as part of our phase 2 project of our voter approved capital project, and pairing 3 years of our transfer to capital to make up about $1.4 million in capital work to go along with that remaining funds of our voter approved capital project. Now looking at our management services budget, I want to explain the layout because you will see this across divisions. The first column on your left-hand side is our COSER number. The next column is the description or the name of the COSER. The following column is the actual tuition or the rate charge for that service in 21-22, and then which is our current year, and then the proposed budget is the subsequent column. And then we give you a dollar-to-dollar change from year to year for the tuition or the rate charge, and then we also provide what that percent change is. The next two columns show the budget to budget actual expenditure change from current year to the proposed budget, and the last column shows what is the dollar impact to districts with just the rate change. No change in participation, just that pure rate change gives you a true understanding what the actual costs to districts are. I do want to highlight that our labor relations service rates are in a chart below. Also, our school food management COSER is highlighted because we are looking to have a conversation about the rate methodology with our component districts for this COSER. You can see a 6.8% increase in this COSER and change in rate, and that is largely driven by a decrease in our WADA in some of our participating districts, which causes that rate to increase with no change in service. So that's something we will pursue here during this school year to really take effect for next school year in collaborations with our districts participating in the service. Now looking at our instructional services budget, this is broken down by 2 slides, so you'll see an overall total on the next slide. On this first section, I do want to point out our interscholastic athletics coordination 554. You see a large budget-to-budget increase of $270,000. What we are doing is building in the cost of officials as if CVES were to take over reimbursement officials to take that off from school districts. This is in discussion. It hasn't been approved or put forth yet, but we are working ahead to be prepared in case that does come to fruition while working with our school districts participating in that COSER. Moving to the next section, we like to highlight here with ISC services a strong focus on what is that total dollar impact of the rate change. You can see it's very limited. And overall, you see a 1.05% increase or $34,000. So the rates from across all of the ISC COSERs amount to a 1% increase. We do have highlighted here the 645 grant management rate methodology is to be discussed with our districts in the service. That is ongoing and will continue with the goal of having something implemented for next school year, as we see that as a very strong COSER and one that really supports our districts and helps to give them financial long-term security while making sure that they are completing their grants properly. Also, I want to highlight Instructional Tech now has 10 districts with 5 techs in districts, and we are holding the base fee flat. You can see a $590,000 increase budget to budget there. That is largely due to the increase in services provided. Moving to our special education division, the 200 COSERs, the top 4 items on this sheet are our actual classroom tuitions that are charged. 300s to 700s are related services received by students. 300s are services received outside our school buildings, and the 700s are related services within our school buildings. As you can see in our classrooms, we have a 2.97% increase on tuition, a 1.55%, 1.39%, and a 1.94% increase on those tuitions being charged for our classrooms. Next, I want to touch on the budget-to-budget increase, which it shows a 5.69% increase. The largest driver there is looking at our one-to-one aides a la carte and a $559,000 increase. That is due to an increase of 23 aides budgeted from our original budget to the current year to the proposed due to the increased needs of our students. Next, we'd like to highlight one of our programs, and looking at our special ed COSER 210 life skills program. We do want to point out we have 9 classrooms between Mineville and Plattsburgh with a student budget for next year of 64.5 students, which does mean we have open spots in that program, 7.5 of them that, if are filled, could lead to a surplus flowing back to districts. Next, we look at our CTE enrollment averaging and really our CTE programming at CVTech. This is the 4th year of our enrollment averaging for CVTech. I do want to point out that as of our December 1 lock-in date for the school year, we had 657 students. That is above the 590 student average that we were billing for this, or 576 student average we were billing for this school year. That equates to just under $1 million in savings to school districts that we were able to provide because of this enrollment averaging formula. And our CVTech team, as well as our whole CVS team, worked well together to provide a high quality education without that additional revenue, because we were able to plan ahead and know what our operating revenue was going to be due to this CT enrollment averaging formula. Now, breaking it down by district, you can see what does that enrollment averaging change mean to every one of our districts. There are some large percentages here, so I'd like to point out Ty has a 27% increase. They currently have this school year 52 students, while their average for the year was 25.75 students. So you can see that their enrollment averaging is increasing, approaching more where their actual levels are at. Similarly with Mariah, they're at 12% increase. They currently have 41 students, and their average for this school year was just under 34 students. At the bottom of the page, you'll see tuition per student is changing by $246 or a flat 2%. We don't bill by tuition anymore, but we do like to show that for full transparency of what the impact is change on our budget to budget. Next, you'll see our pre-CTE programming, incarcerated youth, and online high school courses. Here, our pre-CTE enrollment has increased, and the budget-to-budget change is $58,000, which drives the large overall percent you see on this page. This is due to the increase in the allocation of time of staffing for pre-CTE programming. So you can see there, we're holding the rate just below 2% increase. Now that we've looked at the budgets, we want to look at some details impacting the allocation of costs, as well as BOCES flowing back to districts. So first, we start with our AWADA. As I touched on earlier in the presentation, we did have some decrease in different districts' AWADA, and you can see a number of them on this slide here. Overall, it's a 252 drop in AWADA. I do want to point out that our WADA stands for Resident Weighted Average Daily Attendance. It is not a reflection of just enrollment. It is a weighted daily attendance. This does equate to a 1.8% drop in our WADA across our component districts. This has an impact on any of our COSERs that have a methodology based on our WADA, as well as the allocation of our admin budget and our capital budget. Now we want to look at our projected effect on districts for this current year. We like to look back, and we have data that can support it. We want to evaluate how the year go and how did BOCES impact those services provided. So on this slide, you can see the budget was just under $41 million for 21-22. The non-aidable portion of that budget, which includes items such as special education services, which districts receive high cost aid or excess cost aid on. They don't receive BOCES aid on those services, as well as another example would be transportation. Services that we provide, districts receive transportation aid on those. Those budgets, or what we call non-aidable BOCES budgets, equate to just over $15 million, which means CVS had $25.7 million in aidable services provided this school year. The BOCES aid payable this school year is $12.7 million is the projection, which is just under 50% back to districts. So we do like to share that districts get significant support, or just under 50% BOCES aid back on those $25.7 million in services, which is a great benefit to our component school districts. Lastly, we wanted to highlight our BOCES aid ratios for our districts. This was brought to our attention because we did see an increase for a number of our districts from last year to this year's services. Again, so this will be, you receive on BOCES aidable services this year that you receive the aid next year. For the BOCES capital costs, you actually receive the aid in the current year. So we are showing for the 2022-23 BOCES capital costs, the aid ratios for next year, because you actually receive that in the current year. So overall, across the board, we saw almost a 3% increase on the BOCES aidable services. And we saw, when you total up all the increases for all of our districts' BOCES capital aid, we had a 31.4% increase on our BOCES capital aid to districts. So really positive news there. So districts can receive more BOCES aid on the services provided by CVES. The last thing I would say, this also tells us as CVES and drives us as CVES to provide high quality services, to listen to our district's needs and meet those needs, because they receive such a benefit back in BOCES aid. We need to be doing everything we can to service those districts, meet their needs, and help them move toward the future to help the strongest student learning in their school districts, as well as support their taxpayers and give them a break where we can.
Thank you, Mr. Bell, for reviewing the proposed CVES budgets. As the final step of this presentation, we want to emphasize the importance of CVES BOCES and our BOCES aid and reimbursement of surplus to our component school districts in supporting the entire package of the CVES budget. As a reminder, our 16 component school districts make up roughly 14,000 students and are reimbursed based upon the state's formula of COSER aid reimbursement, which stands for Cooperative Service Agreements, and it's an incentivized state model to support shared services. Each district is reimbursed at its COSER rate based on their district's financial need. That is an essential and crucial part of equity for all students throughout the state, and especially in the North Country. In my opinion, our COSER aid reimbursement formula is one of the most progressive and vital formulas to support high-quality programs with equity and access to a sound basic education for all. No matter where our students across the state live, where they come from, their zip code, or their family's financial status, districts are reimbursed for the students' participation in programs and services through BOCES. As a final slide, an overview of the next steps in our budget process. A budget presentation will be given to the chief school officers and business officials on Friday, February 11, 2022. At that meeting, we will review this presentation and answer questions that our chief school officers and their business officials may have as they review and analyze their participation in the CVES proposed budget. Next, our CVES BOCES annual meeting will be held on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022, when our BOCES board will review our final 22-23 proposed and recommended budget. Following that review on Thursday, April 28, 2022, our 16 component districts boards of education will vote on our 22-23 CVES administrative and capital budget and vote on our BOCES board member elections. In closing, and on behalf of CVES BOCES, we appreciate our 16 component districts, our chief school officers, our business officials, and all of our component district education partners, and for taking the time to review our CVES budget information. We are especially appreciative of the vital role that the BOCES board plays in supporting the work of Champlain Valley Educational Services. As representatives of our component districts, our CVES BOCES board dedicates their time and energy to lead and support our CVES programs and services and our organization, so that the students and our component districts throughout the North Country region are provided the best services and education possible. Thank you for your review of this information and our budget information.
Okay. So I just had one thing to ask you, Eric, about this interscholastic sports coordination. The total of $270,000. Now, is that something we're doing different this year or that we weren't doing before?
Yep, so that $270,000 is driven by the cost of what it would be to reimburse for the officials' costs or pay the officials directly through CVES. So it'd be one centralized billing for all 26 schools in that COCERT, which is section 7. It does not have, I just want to point out, it does not have an impact on rate. So that's not part of the whole rate. It just really of the overall budget, we put it in there. That would be bill as used. So whatever it would cost. So if a District A uses 200 officials, whatever that cost is, they would get billed directly for it. We're in the early stages of discussing it with the districts now to see if that's something they would want. We've heard from districts saying that's a big challenge of their central office is tracking and paying officials. Now that we have the assigner in-house, it's something that CVS could take on and take off from their plates. So if you take out the officials cost, I believe that was $267,000 of that change was just the officials cost. And there, if you take that out, it's no change on rate. It would just, the budget would be $3,000.
What's the benefit to the districts? Do they get anything back, save on aid by doing it this way?
So the benefit to districts would be the processing and handling of officials vouchers. So it would take it off from their coaches or their athletic directors or their site supervisors from getting vouchers completed by officials and then turning those in for review by usually went to the athletic director would review it, then their business official would review it, and then it would be processed for payment. So that would, the benefit would be that we would remove that from them. Same, also they would have to give out a 1099 to any official that made over $600. That would be burden of CVES. Their benefit wouldn't come in the form of aid. Those are unaidable expenses. Okay. The aid they would get is any processing charge. So CVES would, the design that's to be proposed in the future would be a markup on each official voucher. So a percent charge on those vouchers for processing. So our costs that we would incur for each one of those, that would be aid. So if there's any markup on those processing those invoices, there would be aid received on that.
So the districts do kind of benefit in less work on their end to take care of the sports programs. Yeah. So somewhere they must save a little money on somebody's time somewhere, right?
Yeah, our business offices in particular, this is a big problem for them, and they have asked for this because it's a big burden on them.
Even the stress level is probably what they'd like to get rid of.
Yeah, the big pushback we have here is officials. They will be getting 1099s, whereas previously the game was you do $590 work in one district and you don't go back there. You go to another district and then you never get a 1099. If we pay officials for all events, they're all pretty much guaranteed to get a 1099, which means they have to claim on their taxes. That truly is one of the biggest roadblocks to this.
Hey, join the club, you gotta pay your share, right?
If we're preparing, we're listening to our districts, we're setting up internally saying we could do it. If our districts want it, we'll provide the service. If our districts don't want it, we won't.
Sounds good. Okay, that's all I had. Anybody else? Any questions about budget?
No, I just want to make a comment though. I mean, I've sat on the budget committee now for quite a few years. And I think each year it's, the process itself has gotten much better, but also for everything that we've gone through over the last couple of years with the pandemic, that the challenges have even gotten so much more complex for the entire team doing this budget. And I just want to give kudos and congratulations to a team that we have, an administrative team, the entire team in general to do this type of budget and put it forth, because we know, we all know that the number one outlook is to make sure that every student gets the best education that you can possibly give, but you're also looking at what you can do for the most beneficial for the districts, for the community, and the job that you guys have done, again, just is incredible. You really have done an enormous amount of work, and God bless you for that. But the time, the effort, and I guess the diligence that your entire team has done, I just want to say thank you for a job very well done. Very well done.
Thank you for those comments. All right. So I guess we're ready to move on to the next challenge. Dr. Davey, your superintendent's update.
Sure, and I want to just start off and say thank you, Mrs. Boyce, for your comments, but also kudos to the board for, watching our video. It was a little over 23 minutes. I think in the past we had spent an hour or so presenting all this information. So thank you for paying attention, but also having all the details, and our communications department produced that and did it, very effectively and efficiently. And so kudos to our team for being able to help to do that. It's also a service available to our component districts if our superintendents want to work through that. So, excellent job and great work by our team. Thank you to our leaders for helping move us forward. I'll be brief, or as brief as possible, with our CVS and district updates for my overall update. The weekly staff updates, you can tell last week, we had 2 snow days. Those were our first 2 of the school year. We do have 1 left. We'll share with you that, but the weather was very icy the first day and then very snowy the second. So, we're hopeful to make it through the rest of the winter and then, have our staff enjoy that last snow day in May is what our hope is. But with that said, I just want to share too, all of our PowerPoints were available to the board on Friday afternoon. So all the budget presentations, the strategic planning PowerPoint, those were all available so you could go in and review them at your leisure. And that was after 2 snow days. So really the work was done by Wednesday. So I just want to acknowledge, Mrs. Boyce, you were mentioning that, it seems a little bit more finely tuned and oiled. It was one of the most less stressful times that we've had presenting and pulling all this information together, and our team working very well together. So great leadership, Mrs. Myers too. You rallied the troops in management services, and everybody really pulled their weight. So kudos to that. With that said, some great program updates. Even during our snow day, we had an awesome and fantastic CVTech kickoff for our STEM. Kudos to Mrs. Friedman and our team for the phenomenal partnership with the University of Siegen, a university at Siegen in Germany, as well as a school, technical school in Lansing, Michigan. International partnership, just amazing. Assemblyman Simpson, Matt Simpson, for our Southern Assemblyman, was on the whole time. Really excited about it, as well as business partners. A CEO of one of the big German companies who's partnering with us as well. I mean, we're talking like top 6 in the world in their field. Spoke for probably 15 minutes to the group. He had recorded a video and a presentation. So this is a major, a partnership. Mrs. Friedman, kudos to our team. I know we look forward to updates to the board, but just amazing. So outstanding job, and our team represented us, as like rock stars. With that said, we're very excited to share with the board our success stories handout, which is really just fantastic. I think I'm going to say in the last 9 years, it's our best one yet. If you'll notice, each of our communications team members actually took ownership and helped write stories. So it's really phenomenal. I'll share with you, we'll be using it as a promotion ad, not only to promote CVS, but also our communications department, and share copies with our superintendents and say, look at what a great job they did for us. They can do it for you too. So we're really excited about that and the work that's outlined, but also the product as it's presented. Phenomenal. The board has a copy of Strictly Business.
Nice.
I know Mrs. Friedman has been acknowledged in this as well. In this case, I was one of the leaders tasked to work with the Strictly Business leaders in the North Country to share some updates about the pandemic and our area of growth. So you have a copy of that as well, and I was representing the education sector. Just to share with you that we do know and do understand, especially in our special education division, we're working on planning to how we can continue to recruit and fill vacancies. We've had a few staff members who have left the area, especially some of our teachers. I mean, when I say they're not just going to the next district, they're going across the state or across the country. So we are looking to, again, replace those individuals with phenomenal staff as well. And kudos to our team as we're presenting some plans to be able to help fill those vacancies, as well as for some of our support staff that's highly needed and really valued in our programs. A few other COVID updates. The governor's masking update. There was a press conference today. Governor is relaxing some of the masking restrictions for businesses in the community, but schools, the mandate is expected to stay in place. But the governor also, and I will share with the board a copy of some of the highlights, just a one-page summary. But the bottom line is there's now laying out a metric to when the masking mandates can be relaxed in schools. Unfortunately, and from our next point, where we have the guidance update, there was additional guidance that just came out last Friday. Clinton County and Essex County have the highest COVID spread rate in the state right now. The highest. And part of our masking protocols that are in school are helping us stay in person. We understand that. So at this time, we want to stay true, but also follow the state and look for an off-ramp as we go forward. There were some updates that were shared. And for example, even locally, the number of cases that are happening are dropping. For example, in our Essex County check-in meeting yesterday, Clinton County Health Department said on January 13th, our infection rate was 29%. Yesterday, it was 11%. Huge drop. We also talked about, one of the tools in our toolbox is vaccinations. The vaccination rate, again, 5 to 11, that just recently came out in the last few months, is 42.9%. Our 12 to 18-year-olds, 76.2%. The fully vaccinated, 5 to 11, 34%, 12 to 18 is 71%. The more vaccinated individuals are, we understand, the less severe individuals can be affected. So they're encouraging that support as we go forward to help, and especially in some schools, the entire teams of athletes are vaccinated. Why? Because they want to play. And if they're exposed, they don't have to quarantine. So there are some, interest for that, but again, kudos to our teams. Both of the check-in meetings from yesterday, they say draft on them, are shared in our shared folder. They went out to the superintendents and the health partners today, part of our ongoing protocols. The CEWW report card, again, that's an update too. Last year, it was just under 300 cases. Today, it was over 3,000 cases. So we know that, and that's with us still being in person. So just so the board understands and our community understands, we're still being very proactive and really working hard. We had our 6th shipment of state rapid tests that just came in that are being distributed to the districts. We're now over 50,000 tests that we've distributed and are distributing to our components. Again, a service that we're doing, but BOCES across the state are doing it as well. Kudos to everybody and thank you for everyone pitching in. I know with Mrs. Campbell not being here for a couple of days, Mr. St. Pierre helped be the point person who was helping check in those and making sure what was ordered was what was delivered was what is said on our sheets. So Mr. St. Pierre, thank you to our team and Mrs. Campbell, our instructional services team who just stepped up and prepared the distribution. So everything's operating like clockwork. Outstanding work. The board has a copy of the DS highlights from my last meeting, which was a week ago, a little over a week ago. I want to draw the board's attention to our BOCES Lobby Day planning. We have set upon our BOCES Lobby Day and Nice It Week, where we work in partnership. On Wednesday, March 2nd, we have a WebEx scheduled with Assemblyman Billy Jones. We'll be working with Mrs. Friedman and her team to have some student volunteers. Traditionally, we do have a couple of board members who participate. If there's interest in that this year, please let Mrs. Rabideau and myself know. We have Assemblyman Simpson, who's been confirmed for 10:30 to 11. Again, just a half an hour. So we'll talk fast and have great interaction, and we want to have the students weigh in. So, maybe a 3-minute intro by myself and Mrs. Friedman, and then we'll let the students have at it. Because that's where the reps, but we'll give them definitely the information in a packet to make it useful. The board will have a complete packet of that in advance. We're also waiting to confirm right now Senator Steck, which is tentatively scheduled for 11:30 to 12, same day. The benefit from doing that is we can have the same students. They can work together with us. We can really work through the kinks, have some practice runs, and be more effective as we go through it. Lastly, I want to really acknowledge and thank Mrs. Rabideau, who worked with Mrs. Zedek as well. The board received or should have received a copy in our transmittal as well. a copy of a summary which provides the board vacancy overview for the upcoming board elections. We have a number of our current board members who are eligible for reelection. We have some new board members who have recently, Ms. Moffett and Ms. Hunter, who have recently joined on a temporary basis. We hope this is being a good experience for you. So we have outlined all of this information in the memo as far as who's eligible, as well as which school districts could have representative members. And Mrs. Rabideau even put together a summary email, which kind of outlined which districts in a little chart, and Mrs. Rabideau, phenomenal work as usual. So great work. If there's any questions, I'm happy to have individual conversations if you'd like to discuss your continuation or you would like to speak about it. And I look forward to talking with you, but again, we're so appreciative of all your work. That really summarizes the major points. Our next board meeting is planned for March 9th. Given the complexity, right now, the virtual board meetings can go through March 15th, are scheduled to be able, so our next board meeting, we will be able to continue having the remote option. Our plan would be to have this meeting in Mineville with a virtual option for members who want to attend the WebEx virtually. So that's really my update for the DS update. Are there any questions? It's quite a bit of information. But again, tried to provide all the links and everything in the transmittal so you can look at it and do it with ease.
The boards have been notified about nominations for.
Yes. So this information just went out to all of the superintendents and the board clerks.
We do a follow-up to the district clerks, but they're copied on that, so they're all have been notified. And I typically will reach out individually to those districts of our current board members that are up, or terms are expiring.
And I will be discussing this with our superintendents as well on Friday. Just to reinforce, we all get so many emails these days, to reinforce the vacancies as well as, the process and the timelines, because the timelines are important. You can miss it by a day and not be able to run for the board board seat.
What's the cutoff date? Like we were just talking about. Make sure that
So the memo is right here. So the board approved resolutions. We have 9 school communities that are due to Mrs. Rabideau by March 29th.
March 29th, schools need to send their candidates.
Yes.
With a board approved resolution nominating.
I see.
Right.
March 29th.
March 29th, and there are 8 seats. A number of them are for the full 3-year terms, and there's a couple that are a little bit lesser, I believe 2-year terms, Mr. Rabideau. So with that said, we will, work through the process, but again, we have 8 seats. And those 8 seats, there are 9 districts eligible to volunteer. If we don't fill all the vacancies, then other individuals such as we have now could continue on an ad hoc basis. So we have some board members who have done that, and we're thankful for that as well.
So that concludes your update.
Thank you so much.
So Megan, is there any addendums or anything we need to worry about?
There is no addendum this
That's
month.
not.
Right.
Ed, you can just relax. You don't have to jump in.
Mitch,
Good thing we lost it.
before we go too far, and I don't know which one of these it is, but I'm a little concerned about this First Light contract. They've taken over from Prime
Can I
Light.
just stop for a second? If that's part of the consent agenda, we would just need to motion to have that removed for there to be discussion about that.
What's that?
I think one of the contracts in one of the financials,
Could be.
yes, so,
You want to
Yeah, you need a
remove some,
motion before we can discuss it.
okay.
you need to what, remove it, you say?
Just take it out of the consent and then we can
Okay.
discuss and then we can vote on it separately.
So you need to make a motion right now to do that?
When you get to that section, you
Well,
can.
he wants to talk about it now, I'm assuming?
Well, it's in this first section, is it not?
It's in the
Yes.
consent financial.
So I need a motion to remove.
Motion
to
for the
remove-
minutes.
Second.
Second by Lisa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So
Now, which one is it in the financials?
is it in the finance? Yeah, what letter is
It's in
that
the
anyway?
enclosure. said it was a light,
Closure 11, I believe.
11?
First
the
light.
first light proposal, yes,
Okay.
enclosure 11.
Okay. Go ahead, Richard.
Well, we're gonna take enclosure 11 out and discuss it
Afterwards?
in motion, that one separately.
Yeah, so you've motioned to take it out, so you can go on with the agenda as,
Okay.
So let's,
And then talk about it after?
I'll make a motion for the consent agenda by taking out, I, which is proposal enclosure 11.
Okay, need a second?
Alright.
Lori. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And
Now
carried.
we make a motion that we discuss proposal, I, enclosure 11.
Need a second for that? Yeah. Lori, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, go ahead, Richard.
From several different sources. As I said, First Light is a fiber optic company. They've taken over from PrimeLink, or they bought it, whatever. Their reputation so far has not been as good as PrimeLink, which wasn't the best anyway, of servicing their individual, their customers. So I'm concerned. It's a lot of money. I'd kind of like to know what the other vendor proposed for a price. It wasn't mentioned in that. And was Verizon given an opportunity to bid on this?
I don't know anything about it.
So I can just weigh in and then I'll ask Mr. Bell to weigh in. As per enclosure 11, which was separated, there was one additional proposal received, and that was from Spectrum Enterprises of Latham. The annual service is $26,400 and is 90% funded through the school and library's universal services with the E-rate. So I'm going to just ask, and I know that over the years, we have moved to a more private vendor. At one point, we did have NARIC. We found this was cost effective and the service we believed was high quality and would serve our interests best. I know Mr. Bell, who's here, and also Mr. St. Pierre, so I'm gonna now defer to Mr. Bell to weigh in with it as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so important to note that whole 90% reimbursement. So we do only pay 10% of that cost, $2,600 of it. Alex works with our team on this. So Alex, please walk us through the process of securing this and what the intent is for that contract.
Yep. Yeah, so this is actually the interconnect that connects this campus to the main campus. It's a 10 gigabyte circuit. Not a lot of the vendors locally had that capability. We were actually the first one. I think we were on a 5-year contract originally with PrimeLink. So this is basically to reshore that up. So it does go out to the public. Anyone is, able to submit on it, all that kind of stuff. Like Dr. Davey said, First Light and Spectrum are the only ones that did submit their bids on that, and it's all handled through the E-rate process, which they file a Form 470 on. It's out for bid. I think it's for quite a few weeks. I don't remember exactly on how many weeks it's out for, but it's definitely a very vital service because that is what provides this campus to the rest of the network and the internet. So I know your concerns with First Light. They definitely, it's a different company than PrimeLink was. Their support side isn't as great, and that was weighted on our matrix that we did on that. But the service itself has been very stable. So it's a fiber line from here to the main campus, and it's been pretty rock solid. I don't know of the last time we've had an outage. So that definitely weighs into that conversation quite heavily. So
Last time, as I recall, we had an outage was when during our construction, they actually cut the line when we were digging for it. So
not first place.
No, that was
our construction team.
Yes, no, right. So our construction team hit it when they were installing the roundabout where you go for the north building. So that's been the only time that we have where there's been an outage, and that was, I believe, a year ago in the August. Because I remember walking the field and walking through the mud with you. So I do recall that, but I do understand, and I know, so Mr. St. Pierre, as we did have Prime Link, that was an improvement from what we had before. So if we can just go back to a little bit before that, the move to the private vendor really made an improvement for us, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yep, yeah, before we were on the Narragansett, as they call it, so we had a very small, I think it was about 100 meg internet connection out from our campuses, and then all the traffic went down to Albany and then was kind of routed through all their circuits and stuff. So it must have been about 6 years ago or so that's when we went with the original out to bid with E-rate all on our own and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
So this goes strictly point to point, not through something else?
since it's considered lit fiber, it does get routed to, so this goes to, both this fiber ends go back to Primely or First Light's station, wherever that is. I think it's over on Kansas Ave, I think, somewhere around there.
Well, it's not dark fiber, it's
lit fiber.
It's lit fiber.
So you don't anticipate any problems at this point?
Well,
I mean, it could happen.
Yeah, something can happen. I mean, I don't want to say that. Kind of like what Mr. Bell said earlier, where it's like on the, it's supposed to work. It's been pretty solid. It's the same exact connection we've had for the last 5 years. Again, this is just a renewal of a contract, so for E-rate purposes.
And if something goes wrong, we can always revisit the situation, do something different. Okay with that, Richard?
I guess so.
That's all you can be, right?
Right.
Make a motion to accept that contract then?
Second.
Second by Lisa, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, so we've done the financial agenda. No to worry about this month. The personnel agenda, motion to approve personnel agenda.
A through J,
Lisa?
I make a motion.
Boyce, Mrs. Boyce, and second by Bruce. Mr. Murdock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So, Mr. St. Pierre, if I could just pause the meeting for one moment.
Sure.
As part of your personnel agenda, the consent agenda, you just approved 2 long-term employees' retirement. I want to acknowledge, we have Mr. Tom Tedford, our auto body teacher in the CVTech program. Mrs. Friedman, we were just saying, you remembered when he started. So he's been with us 30 years. So she was on the interview committee, Mrs. Friedman, as I remember correctly, correct?
That is correct.
And he does a phenomenal job, has done an amazing job. He's got a great way with kids, phenomenal in his skill set. So really, we're sorry to see him retire, but we do wish him the best and the most enjoyable retirement in his next phase. So kudos to Mr. Tedford. We also have a member of our O&M team, Mr. David Rabideau, has been with us 32 years. I got to know Mr. Rabideau personally because he was our O&M staff in this building, but previously, so I got to know him very well over the years as well. A lot of evenings he would come through. I know he's been a valued member of our team, very active in local fire departments, was the local chief for many years, or vice chief in the Morrisonville department. He's really been somebody who's active in community service and supporting that. So really has been a valuable member. Mr. Bell, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, we've been fortunate to have him as an employee. We're really thankful for his many years of service to our organization. He continues to perform at a very, very high level for us and is a key member of our team. We're sad to see him go. We'll be unable to replace him, but we'll bring someone in to try to support our needs. Yep. Congratulations, Dave. Really
Yes,
happy.
thank you. And Mrs. Friedman, any goodbye comments for Mr. Ted or congratulatory comments?
If you have not had the opportunity to just have a conversation with Tom Tedford, you are truly missing out. He is just everything you hope that a teacher and a role model will be for kids. He has done everything from teaching in the classroom to being a Skills USA advisor, mentoring students in and out of the field in leadership, and has been a very just a wonderful colleague, someone who is very calm and respectful and embraces the privilege of being an educator. And it has been a privilege to have him, to work with him, to learn from him, and to be on the team with him. So I'm sad for us. I'm happy for him, but 30 years of a really truly stellar career.
Yeah, so thank you for allowing us to share that. And congratulations to both Mr. Ravdu and Mr. Spencer.
Okay, moving on there, we need to adapt the school calendar. Need a motion.
Motion.
Mr. Murdoch, second, Mr. Boyd. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. These were,
I think we might have missed one, so if we could just recap, from the beginning. I have 4 resolutions. The first was to remove the proposal from the consent agenda.
Yep.
The second one was to approve the consent agenda.
Correct.
The third was the minutes, because
no.
did we skip the minutes?
Third,
maybe the minutes was the second one. I can go back and watch the video, but I
You
just
did
wanna
the
make
minutes.
sure,
You
cause
did the
if
minutes.
that's the case,
The
then we
minutes
did
were skipped.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think that's the
so
one.
I think we should go back and do the
They did.
draft budget booklet
They did.
and then do the minutes.
Yeah.
Agreed, yes. Thank you, Mr. Ravdu.
Do the what first now? You were saying?
Enclosure 1, I called it the budget booklet, but it's the educational program and fiscal plan.
Right.
To
Motion.
print the
And
copies for.
And so that, what the board is authorizing following our budget presentation, it's the board's endorsement to allow us to move forward with sharing and printing our budget proposal for all the chief school officers that you just received tonight.
oh, yeah, we didn't.
Yes.
Motion by who?
Yep.
Motion. Who's second? Lisa? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, carried. And the next one that we had missed was the minutes of the previous meeting, so we need a motion to.
I did that one already.
We did that
You
one?
did.
Yeah, he did.
We did that
We
one.
did that
You
one,
did.
okay. So we're caught up then?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, Bruce, we need to go home. Your turn.
Okay, we'll go home now.
Okay.
Now make the motion.
We have a motion, and a second by
Second.
Lisa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed and carried. There. I think we made it through.